tell us a little bit about your background. Where were you born and where did you grow up? So I was born here in New York City. I'm still here. I went back home after 20 years. I grew up in Brooklyn. My family has 3 generations there. I always say that I'm really happy that I was born here in New York City, because if I was born anywhere else in the world, I don't think I would be the person I am today. So being in New York, growing up in New York City was the best education, experience, and training. When people find out I grew up in New York City, they think it's strange and say, I could never raise a child here. It's a bad place. But I always tell them, no, it's a great place to raise your child. What was your deaf experience like growing up? So when I grew up, I went to public school. At the time, there was no mainstream education available. And back then, sign language was not really accepted. New York City was strongly oral education based. And it was really hard on my parents to accept the fact that I was deaf. Later in life, they weren't stressed about having a deaf child, but at that time it was difficult. What's your passion? Tell us a little bit about it. I really like being on stage. I think it's important to admit. I love working with the audience. I love making them feel and how they respond to the way acting is a thinking profession. You have to really think about not just the lines themselves, but everything that's incorporated in it, from the beginning to end, to the context, and I really love that kind of work. What do you believe it takes to get your foot in the doorway of success? In this business, where you really have to network. You have to have good networking skills. Sometimes I think that networking is more important than talent, because once you have good networking skills, your talent will help you succeed. If you have no talent, then maybe you should find the door. But if you have both networking skills and talent, the only thing you need is it's up to you to further your career. What was your best learning experience in the field of acting? I really had nowhere else to go with my acting background. NTD was the only place, and that was not what I had planned for myself, so I worked on other things. And somehow I found myself working on Broadway. In 1980, I found out there was a touring company, and I thought, oh my God, I have to join. Actually, I auditioned in New York City for that. And I was cast as the understudy on Broadway, and I didn't understand what that meant, understudy. So they explained that I have to go once a week, and I have to learn all the lines and be ready. So if an actor called in sick, then I would have to be ready to get on stage. So I thought, okay, I won't go to New York. I'll be involved with the touring company. And that's when I decided it doesn't matter that I don't have the role, but as an understudy, I would have to know everything, and I would have to analyze every night what's going on, the changes, and how the actors changed. And it was my favorite learning experience. I would sit in the audience with the audience every night, because I only had to rehearse once a week. Most people would play cards and chat, but or they would sit in the green room and just talk for 2 hours, and I decided to go and sit in the theater and just observe. It was very interesting to watch how the audience would react, what they were distracted by, when they would laugh or when they wouldn't. And every day the actors were adjusting their moods. Like that day they would come and they would bring their feelings and they would use their own moods on stage and they would perform. And each character would vary by the night. When I finally got on stage, what is the biggest problem faced with deaf actors? Really, deaf actors have limited roles. It stinks. I wish that people would think of deaf actors because being an actor has more to do with than just being able to hear. Tell us about working on Sound and Fury as a film producer. I wrote a documentary and discussed with a production company about the movie, and I met with a man who later was the director of Sound and Fury, and he went around asking deaf individuals because he needed help making the documentary. And my name, Jackie, kept coming up in conversation, so he contacted me, and we both lived in New York, so it was easy. It was easy to decide that I would be a good fit to work with him. So we sat down and we discussed different ideas. We both had different ideas, but they went well together. At that time, 1999, there was a lot of conflict involving cochlear implants, and conflict makes good money. So the both of us were trying to find money for our budget, and neither of us had a very successful filmmaking career or tracking record, so we looked to investors and for grants, and people were saying you should contact this guy. He won 4 Emmys and he's great at finding money. So I thought, great, and we contacted him. He liked our idea. He thought he was interested in the deaf theme of the movie. But I thought I really wanted the film to be about babies, something related to babies. And that was more of a conflict, more of an argument. Because at that time, thinking about changing 2 to 1, maybe
I'm just stepping out for a second.
The community would be upset and crazy. There's so many different choices that they could make. So we found this family, and they had twins. One was deaf and one was hearing. And we thought, what should we do? So we called and we met the family. And we said, are you interested in making a movie? Are you interested in being in a movie? And they said yes. And we thought, really? It's 2 brothers, and they were so close in age, growing up, completely opposite mindsets. And honestly, I was the only deaf person on the team. I was alone. I was very involved with the content and translations and everything. All of the translations I was involved with. I was really I had a lot to do with the story from beginning to finish, with the editing, and At the time, we didn't discuss a lot of what was happening at the time, and there was a lot of positives happening. I was very proud of it. Do you have any advice for the deaf community involved in film? I think it's really important for people to find others who are interested, who share the same interests and ideas, and work on a team. It's more difficult to work alone. I would just say that our community and our talented actors, we need to look at each other and see how that we can see a way how we can work together. Because there's a lot of different communities, actors who are, there's a lot of different communities involved, the actors, the filmmakers, and it takes a lot to create a successful piece. Do you have any advice for deaf or hard of hearing women who want to be involved in film? If you will find a way, but there's not a person bringing you a silver platter, so you have to realize that good actors aren't just lucky. You really have to do it. You really have to put yourself forward, and things just don't happen to you. You have to make them happen. Ask for help, ask for support. You need to put yourself out there, and don't be shy about it. You really have to believe in something that you really want bad enough, and then work on it. It will happen if you want it bad enough.